about anything that mattered. There were no fights, no raised voices. Just a heavy silence that settled over everything like dust on old furniture. Our home became a museum of memories we were too afraid to touch. Photographs lined the hallways. Her favorite books still sat on the shelf exactly where she'd left them. But we never spoke about her. We never spoke about anything real. I'd catch him sometimes, staring out the kitchen window with his coffee growing cold in his hands. And I'd wonder what he was thinking. But I never asked, and he never told me. We'd become experts at avoidance, masters of small talk, champions of how was your day, followed by fine and nothing more. Part 2. An unexpected invitation. Then one October morning, something shifted. The air felt different somehow, charged with possibility I couldn't quite name. "What would you think about getting out of here for a few days?" he asked over breakfast, not quite meeting my eyes. "Maybe drive up to the lake country, see the fall colors?" I looked up from my phone, genuinely surprised. We hadn't taken a trip together since before Mom got sick. That felt like a lifetime ago. "The mountains?" I repeated as if I hadn't heard him correctly. "Yeah." He stirred his coffee, suddenly focused on that task. "I just thought, maybe we could both use a change of scenery." Something in his voice made me put down my phone, something vulnerable and hopeful that I hadn't heard in years. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Yeah, let's do it." His face brightened in a way that made my chest tighten. When had I last seen him smile like that? We didn't make plans, didn't book a hotel or map out an itinerary. We just threw some clothes in bags, filled a thermos with coffee, and left before either of us could overthink it. Part 3. The journey begins. The drive itself became part of the healing, though I didn't realize it at the time. For the first hour, we barely spoke. Just the hum of the engine and the occasional comment about the changing landscape. But it wasn't the oppressive silence of home. This quiet felt different, easier, like we were both exhaling after holding our breath for too long. "Look at that," he said, pointing to a massive oak tree ablaze with red and gold leaves. "Your mother loved this time of year." It was the first time either of us had mentioned her in months. I held my breath, waiting for the familiar weight to descend. But instead, he smiled. "She used to make me pull over every 5 minutes to take pictures of trees. Drove me crazy." He laughed softly, a sound I'd almost forgotten. "I miss that now. I'd stop 1,000 times if I could." My throat tightened, but I managed to speak. "She had 3 albums just of fall leaves, remember? Organized by year and location." "God, yes." He shook his head, still smiling. "Most organized chaos I've ever seen." And just like that, talking about her became easier. Not painless, but possible. Part 4. Arriving at the lake. When we finally crested the last hill and saw the valley spread out below us, I caught my breath. The lake stretched out like a mirror, reflecting towering pines and jagged peaks. The water was so clear you could see stones on the bottom near the shore. The air smelled like pine and autumn and something clean and new. "This is beautiful," I said, and I meant it. We found a small cabin rental at the edge of the water. Nothing fancy, just 2 bedrooms, a fireplace, and a porch overlooking the lake. Perfect. That first afternoon, we walked along the shore in comfortable silence, skipping stones across the glassy surface. The pebbles crunched under our feet with every step, and the wind moved through the pines like a whisper. I glanced over at my father, expecting to see his usual distant expression. But instead, he looked peaceful, almost content. "This was a good idea," I said. He nodded. "Should have done it sooner." Neither of us said what we were both thinking, that sooner might have been before Mom got sick, when we were still a complete family, when laughter came easily and silence wasn't something we hid behind. But we were here now. And maybe that was enough. Part 5. Rediscovering connection. That evening, we hiked a trail that wound through the forest and alongside a rushing stream. My father moved slowly but steadily, pointing out things I wouldn't have noticed. A bird's nest tucked in a hollow tree, lichen creating patterns on rocks, the way the light filtered through the canopy in golden shafts. "You know," he said as we paused to catch our breath, "I used to bring you here when you were little. You probably don't remember." I did, actually. Fragments of memory, being carried on his shoulders, the smell of his jacket, feeling safe and high above the world. "I remember," I said softly. "You let me believe I was taller than the trees." He smiled, and this time when he looked at me, really looked at me, I saw tears in his eyes. "I haven't been a very good father these past few years," he said quietly, "Dad. No, let me say this." He took a breath. "When your mother died, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to be sad in front of you, so I just shut down. And in doing that, I shut you out too. And I'm sorry." The words I'd been holding back for years suddenly poured out. I thought you didn't want to talk to me anymore. I thought maybe I reminded you too much of her and that hurt you. So I stayed away too. I thought I was giving you space, but I was just lonely. He pulled me into a hug then, the first real embrace we'd shared since the funeral, and I let myself cry against his jacket, breathing in the familiar smell of his cologne and coffee and home. We're both idiots, he said, and I felt him shaking with laughter or tears or both. Complete idiots, I agreed. Part 6, opening up. That night, we built a fire in the cabin's stone fireplace and talked for hours. Really talked, for the first time in years. I told him about my job, the parts that excited me and the parts that scared me. About the friends I'd been neglecting because I was always too tired or too sad. About the dreams I'd put on hold because they felt selfish somehow, like I didn't deserve to be happy when Mom wasn't here to see it. He listened, actually listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but genuinely absorbing every word. Then he opened up too. He told me about the early days with Mom, how nervous he'd been on their first date, how she'd laughed so hard at his jokes that soda came out her nose. About the day I was born, and how terrified he'd been that he wouldn't know how to be a father. Your mother was the glue, he said, staring into the fire. She knew how to talk about feelings, how to draw people out. I've always been better with silence, but silence with her was comfortable. Silence without her just felt empty. I get that, I said. I really do. But you and I, he continued, we need to learn how to talk to each other. Really talk, because I can't lose you too. I can't let silence steal what little family I have left. My vision blurred with tears. I don't want to lose you either. He reached over and squeezed my hand. Then we won't. Part 7, a new beginning. The next morning, I woke to find him already out on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunrise paint the mountains in shades of pink and gold. I grabbed a blanket and joined him without a word. We sat together as the world woke up around us. Birds calling to each other, the lake's surface catching the first light, the mountains emerging from shadow. This is nice, he said finally. Just being together. No expectations. Just this. Yeah, I agreed. It really is. Later, we explored a small mountain town nearby, wandering through a farmer's market filled with handmade crafts, local honey, and freshly baked bread. I found a necklace made from polished river stones, each one unique and imperfect. What do you think? I asked, holding it up. He studied it, then me. It's perfect, like you. Compliments had always been hard for him. Hearing one now made my heart swell. Thanks, Dad. He bought it for me, waving away my protests. Let me do this, he said. Let me be your father again. Part 8, Honesty and Healing. That afternoon, we rented a canoe and paddled out to the middle of the lake. The water was so still it felt like we were floating in the sky. Clouds reflected perfectly beneath us. In the middle of that vast, quiet space, I found the courage to say what I'd been holding back. I was angry with you, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. After Mom died. I was so angry that you disappeared into yourself and left me alone to figure out how to survive losing her. He stopped paddling and turned to face me, pain written across his features. I know, he said. I knew then, but I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to fix myself, so how could I help you? I needed you to try, I said, tears streaming down my face now. I needed you to be imperfect and sad and broken, but present. I needed my dad. You're right, his own tears fell freely. You deserved better. You deserved a father who could handle his grief without pushing away the only person who mattered. The canoe rocked gently as he moved closer, taking my hands in his. I can't go back and do it differently, he said. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere again. I promise. I believed him for the first time in years. I believed him. Part 9, The Gift. On our last night at the lake, as the sun set in brilliant streaks of purple and orange, he handed me a small leather journal. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside, on the first page, was a letter in his careful handwriting. My dearest daughter, from the moment you grabbed my finger with your tiny hand in the hospital, I've been in awe of you. Watching you grow into the strong, compassionate, remarkable person you've become has been the greatest privilege of my life. I haven't always shown it, I haven't always said it. But I want you to know, I am so incredibly proud of you. Not just for your accomplishments, though those are wonderful, but for your kindness, your resilience, the way you love so deeply even when it hurts. You are so much like your mother. She would be so proud of the woman you've become. I know I am. I love you. I've always loved you, and I'm sorry for the times I made you doubt that. Love always, Dad. I couldn't see the words anymore through my tears. I looked up at him, this man who'd always struggled with expressing emotion, who'd poured his heart onto this page for me. Dad, I managed. This means everything. You mean everything, he replied. I just needed you to know it. Part 10, The Road Home. The next morning, as we loaded our bags into the car and prepared to drive home, the cabin looked different. The lake looked different. Everything looked different because we were different. The drive back was filled with conversation and laughter. We made plans, regular phone calls, monthly dinners, maybe another trip in the spring. We should make this a tradition, I suggested. A weekend away, just the two of us. No distractions, just time to reconnect. I'd like that, he said. I'd like that very much. As the mountains faded in the rearview mirror and familiar landscapes appeared, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope. Not hope that the pain of losing Mom would disappear, it wouldn't. But hope that my father and I could carry that pain together instead of alone. Hope that we could build something new from the pieces of what we'd lost. Epilogue. Moving forward. That trip happened 3 years ago now, and we've kept our promise. Every few months we take a weekend trip. Sometimes to the mountains, sometimes to the coast, once to a cabin in the desert where we watch stars fill, the sky like diamonds scattered across velvet. We talk now, really talk, about Mom, about life, about everything and nothing. The silences between us are comfortable again, filled with understanding rather than avoidance. He came to my graduate school graduation last year, sat in the front row and cheered loudly when they called my name, embarrassing me in the best possible way. I visit him every Sunday for dinner. Sometimes we cook Mom's recipes, telling stories about her while we chop vegetables and stir pots. Sometimes we order pizza and watch movies she would have hated, laughing about how she'd be rolling her eyes at us. The grief hasn't disappeared. I don't think it ever will. But it's changed shape. It's become something we can hold together, something that connects us rather than divides us. Because that weekend at the lake taught us something crucial. Healing isn't about forgetting or moving on. It's about finding the courage to move forward, together, carrying our memories and our love with us. My father and I lost years to silence and fear, but we found our way back to each other, and every day since then has been a gift we don't take for granted. The road back wasn't easy, but it was worth every difficult mile.